I often wonder about my herbs, right? So I've got sage and oregano, and a number of other things, but just to keep it simple, talking about sage and oregano. I always wonder if I should cut it right down to the ground or leave like the whole plant and just let it, almost like be its own mulch sort of thing. Like leave the whole thing and then maybe cut it in the spring. Even in the spring, I'm like, how much should I leave above the ground for something like a sage or an oregano where they, because I notice when you cut it back, if you just leave it, you don't get growth everywhere. There's
Right.
growth somewhere. So, I mean, how do you decide how far down to cut something like that? Does it depend on the plant or?
Yeah, it depends on the plant. So there's one thing that confuses a lot of gardeners. And the reason there's confusion is because nurseries lied to gardeners. That's why we're confused. So something like sage, for instance, isn't a herbaceous perennial. It's actually a sub-shrub. Okay?
Ah,
Same with uh, thyme, lavender, Russian sage. These are all shrubs, and we call them sub-shrubs, which just means that they're small shrubs, but they're actually woody plants,
it's like a tree.
like a tree.
Yeah.
But in the nursery, they're all sold with the perennial. They're right beside the hostas. So gardeners take them home and treat them like a perennial. So if we take a hosta, for instance, you can cut that down anytime. You're not going to do any damage. Now, it is better for the environment if we leave everything in the fall and cut it down in the spring. And in the spring, we can cut it right to the ground because all of the new buds are underground. Okay, it doesn't matter how far down we cut them. So it's
You're
not an
talking about a herbaceous perennial right now.
herbaceous. Yeah,
Okay.
this is herbaceous, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when we're talking about woody plants, we can't do that. You can't just cut them to the ground because they may not have dormant buds there.
Mm,
So the best thing with herbaceous, with woody plants is you leave them and come along in sort of mid-spring once growth starts. And then you can cut them back to the lowest growth that you have.
right.
If you cut below that, you may kill the plant.
Right.
So I leave those, and then it's quite late until they come out because a lot of them are warm climate growers. So they take their time in spring. They want to get some good warm weather. And I wait until I see the new buds actually leafing out. And then I
Right.
come along and then I can decide how high I want the plant, but I don't go down to the point where I cut all the new growth off. I have to leave some of that new growth.
But you do cut it so you don't leave it as high. Like, so the one thing you could do is like see where where the growth, as high as the growth is, and then everything above that goes. You're
Yeah.
saying go down and, don't go all the way to the bottom, but go down to the bottom and then come up a little bit sort of thing. Uh, is
Yeah.
that what you're?
Well, that makes sense from one point of view. Now, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do any pruning. Just leave them,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And they will grow. The problem with a lot of these sub-shrubs is that they get kind of leggy, right?
Yes.
So if you don't prune them in a year or two, you've got these 3 foot of bare stem that does nothing, and you got growth on top, and they just don't look good in the garden,
Yeah. So
right?
I also find like, and the reason I have this dilemma is when you're harvesting the herbs, right, you're getting all this woody crap in there and not the good sort of lush green stuff. So there's all this sorting you have to do to actually get the herbs out. Because I take a good portion when the plant's at its peak. I take a good portion of the foliage away and dry it and put it all in jars, and that's my herbs for the year. But yeah, the dilemma is like if I don't prune them, I don't think I'm pruning them down as far as you're suggesting.
Yeah.
And then I get all this crap in there that it's just non-herb stuff that needs to
Yeah.
be sorted out.
The plants do better and certainly look better if you prune them down to a few growing buds
I
and
see,
then let them grow from there.
because that's all new.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, that's in nature nobody does that, so they get long and lanky when nobody cares. But
That's right.
we want our plants to look a little nicer, so pruning back does help with that process.
All right. That's good advice. Hey, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here, go to vessies.com to buy whatever you need for your garden this year. Use my coupon code GAVS23 to get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in the order and there's no oversized items in the order. Check out the description box of this video for details. You can buy everything you need from Vessies. They have seeds, fruit bushes and trees, soil amendments, pest solutions, tools, clothing, and lots of other stuff too. So yeah, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here and they sell something you need, buy it from them using my coupon code, and happy gardening.